in this room who thinks there might be working too hard and don't quite see where the play is? Well, I hope that I'm going to help you find more ways to integrate playing with the force, playing with divine source to get the results and the fun and the relaxation and the joy in your life. And my intention tonight is that we will laugh and play and share some stories, some true stories, and that we will grow and expand together. Does anybody want that? Great. I heard some fun stories just a few minutes ago. People who thought they had very important board meetings or something else they had to be and said, oh, I can't come to your class. Suddenly things shifted and they knew that they were supposed to be here. And it's like, thank you, God. And my prayer is that every single person in this room will get exactly what you need tonight. If there's one snippet that nudges you, lifts you, ignites you, then I'm happy and divine force hit the mark. All right? So what is the game of life? The game of life is you get up in the morning, you get dressed, you go to work, you come home, you make dinner, and you pay your bills. That's the way it feels like a lot of times, isn't it? And that means we're not playing. The trick is, if you're not saying to the universe, I want to play more, I want to have more fun, and I want to have more money. If you're not saying to the universe, this is what I want, asking for it, bring it into me, you're just going to get more work. Have you ever heard the term, work expands to fill the time allowed for it? And it does, doesn't it? Well, I know a lot of you in this room have known me for a long time. Have you noticed that play expands to fill the time I allow for it? All right. And I wasn't raised that way. I was raised on a farm, and life was hard, and you get up in the morning and you pick up stones, or you pull weeds, or you shovel, and and there wasn't time for fun, and my father was a perfectionist, and it was like, what do you think? Life is play, life is fun? And you know, I was constantly getting pushed down, my joyful spirit that actually was born to bring joy into my family, because they were way too much perfectionists and workaholics. And so it took me a lot of years to recognize that and claim that about myself. And so the truth is, I shifted from being a workaholic when I was 30. And through these teachings, now when I was like 23 or 24, I found this little book. There were two books that I read like in the same month. And one was this, and the other one was The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And I used those two books. I didn't read 20 more. I didn't go to seminars, because there weren't even seminars on these things. And I didn't know until 10 years ago that there was a church, a community that taught these things. I would read it and think, oh, that's a really good thing. I'd rather live life like that. So the I'd rather live life like that is the first consciousness that needs to shift. When you say, I'm working too hard and life's not fun, that can start causing some other problems in our bodies, right? So when we say, I always have time for fun, how many of you have ever said that? I always have time for fun. Would you like to write that down? That could be one of the first profound statements of the night. I always have time for fun. And then underneath it, you might want to write, I always make time for fun. Because the first is the desire, but if there's a part of you that still doesn't think, oh no, this has to be done, and that has to be done, and something else has to be done, we're not going to make time for it. Did you see that happen in your life? Okay. So the game of life, how many of you bought this book and read it? I mean, you can read it in a minute, practically. So you read it, right? And many of you have been coming to these classes and reading this kind of stuff, but what I want to talk about tonight is putting it into action. The little steps, like daily saying, daily, I'm making time for fun today. Okay, what time in my schedule can I put some fun in? Does that mean I'm going to call a friend and go out to coffee? Or just call a friend and chat on the phone? Or go for a walk along Lake Michigan? If you have an appointment that takes you down 794, what if you left 15 minutes earlier and you got off the highway and you took a 15-minute walk? We live on Lake Michigan. What a blessing. We have that gorgeous bridge that goes across the harbor. And I take it every single time I need to drive someplace, even if I have to go across town. I love that. And the trick is, when you're doing it, to take that moment to smell the roses and go, yeah, I have time to slow down and look at the lake. I have time to slow down and go in my garden and smell my roses. I know she loves her roses and her things. We trade perennials and flowers. And so the game of life can be played without any money. It's about taking the time to do something that pleases you and to say to yourself, I am pleased with this. Every morning during the summer, I get up and I go outside in my garden for an hour. I might be pulling weeds, I might be smelling flowers, I might be deciding what I'm going to plant someplace. But that to me is my game that day. No matter what else I have to do that day, I make sure that I have time to smell the roses and to look at the irises. I've been giving away things for 2 weeks, and that's a game of life. Now, how many of you are wanting to plan and wanting some new things? The game that I had the last 2 weeks was digging stuff up. One day I dug up a whole bunch of hostas and ferns, and I thought, I don't want to throw these away. Okay, I'm going to walk to the front sidewalk, and the first person that walks past, I'm going to ask them if they want some hostas. And she did. And she was thrilled, and I was thrilled, and that was a game that day. Do you get it? We can take a look at everything that we do and find a way to play the game with the universe. I have an abundance of something, hostas, and if I didn't take that extra 3 minutes to walk up to the front sidewalk, they would have died if I laid them on my yard or if I threw them in the garbage. But I took the extra 5 minutes and walked to my front sidewalk and said, I'm standing here until somebody walks past, wants some hostas. All right? And it was fun. And I looked at it as fun, and I was thrilled, and she was thrilled. And then once she got the hostas, I said, would you like some iris? Would you like some of this? Come on in my backyard. Oh, Sunny, I never saw your backyard. Oh my God, it's gorgeous back here. And she left with 15 other plants. And I had a thrilling time sharing them and clearing out my space because somebody's going to give me some new plants. I just know it's coming now. She has tons of lilies, okay? So do any of you need plants for your gardens? Have you, we get in the car and we drive to someplace and we buy them. But many of us don't have $200 or $300 extra dollars, which we can spend easily at the Garden Mart, right? And so if anybody in this room has plants to share, raise your hand. Okay, if anybody in this room needs some plants, raise your hand. All right. Would you look around and would you guys connect? Okay, we're playing a game here now. We're playing Share the Wealth. Okay, this is abundance. Let's share the wealth. Okay, you get it? And then when you share the wealth, you go, Look at, I always have so much stuff. I always have plenty of extra stuff to share with everybody else. And then I'm like thrilled all day long. You think I'm just silly. Smack her, she's too happy. Okay. This is how I make myself happy. Really simple little things like this, not spending lots of money. I make myself happy by seeing how the abundance can be shared. And I went out to a nightclub. Does everybody know where hot water is? On National? Okay, so I went to the nightclub with Beth. Last Sunday, Beth and I went to a tango program. Sunday afternoon, lovely thing to do. Thank you, Beth, for inviting me. And as I was walking into the program, I noticed that Paul, who was a member of the New Thought Church, had a whole bunch of new perennials that he bought that he was planting and redoing. And I walked in and I said, Paul, I've got a whole bunch of perennials I can give you. Do you need this and this and this? He went, yeah. He said, I just bought $200 worth, but you know how far that goes. So the next day, I took him a whole bunch of things. And God bless Paul, he let me in free that night. God bless Paul. Abundance. I didn't expect that he would do that, but I had something to share, and he was grateful. And I guarantee you, he got more than $15 worth of plants. All right? Abundance. This is how I keep my consciousness high on abundance and flow. All right? So the next time you're going someplace, take a couple extra plants in your car and ask the group that you're meeting with, does anybody need some plants? It spreads joy. It spreads love. Plants are God's love in action. It brings joy to our eyes. It brings joy to our hearts. And it's a thrill to share them. This is abundance. All right? Can anybody think of something that they've done this week that was sharing abundance? Anybody have an abundance story? Yes, Dawn. So, sharing abundance. She made some jewelry, which she loves to do. It thrills Dawn to make jewelry. And she gave it to a gift to a friend. And the friend said, I'll make you a cake. Well, how many of us have ever had birthday parties and had to shell out $35, $45, $50 for a cake? Nice to have a friend who makes cakes. So the first thing with recognizing abundance is recognizing that we all have gifts and resources, and it's taking a look at how am I wealthy?